The Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith in Ibn Hibban, إِنَّ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ شِرَّةٍ وَلِكُلِّ شِرَّةٍ فَتْرَةٍ فَمَنْ كَانَتْ فَتْرَتُهُ إِلَى سُنَّتِي فَقَدْ اهْتَدَى وَمَنْ كَانَتْ إِلَى غَيْرِ ذَلِكَ فَقَدْ هَلَكَ. He said ﷺ that everything has its peak, and then everything eventually runs its course. And in this particular narration, the Prophet ﷺ emphasized the course, the low point, the high point and the low point. The Prophet ﷺ chose to emphasize the low point. Whoever has their fatra, their low point in accordance with my sunnah, then he has succeeded. And whoever has it in accordance with other than that, then he has failed. What that means, and the way that the ulama describe this hadith and explain this hadith, is that it is very common for people to go to extremes in their religion, to a point that their religion depends so much on their emotional state that when they're on an emotional high, not only do they do the obligations, they go far beyond with a sense of even zealotry. But when they're in a low point, they get to a point where they don't even maintain their obligations. Right? So in my high point, suddenly I'm in the masjid for Fajr, I'm talking about Qiyamul Layl, I'm doing all these amazing things, I'm pushing myself. Right? And a lot of times in the feeling like I need to overcompensate in my tawbah because I've been away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for so long, I exert myself, I overexert myself, but I set for myself in that process a standard that is so unsustainable that I am going to be disappointed because I won't be able to maintain it. And so when I crash hard. Because I said, I'm going to make this change, I'm going to do all these great things and attain these high things, and then when I crash, forget about coming to the masjid for Fajr, I'm not even praying Fajr on time anymore. Forget about doing Qiyamul Layl, I'm not even praying anymore. Right? Forget about nawafil, extra good deeds, now I'm doing major sins, for example. So the fatra, Al-Hafidh ibn Rajab rahimahullah ta'ala has a very beautiful book called Al-Muhajjatu fi Sayyid al-Dulja. In English, it's The Journey to Allah. It's a very poor translation, as is the case with many of our classical texts. It's not a big text, but he talks about a methodology for change and a methodology for salvation. Al-Muhajjatu fi Sayyid al-Dulja. And he talks about the shirra and fatra, the peak and the low point. And he said the low point is when a person forsakes obligations and indulges major sins or minor sins on a consistent and unapologetic basis. Meaning it doesn't even bother you anymore. Alright? So the fatra that the Prophet ﷺ was talking about, the healthy low point, because you cannot maintain your same level, your same output all the time. The healthy low point the Prophet ﷺ was talking about was that even when you're in your low point, you don't give up your obligations. And you don't indulge major sin or consistent minor sin. That's the healthy low point. Think about it this way. If it was a dunyawi thing, if it was a worldly thing, imagine if you only went to work when you felt like it. I know some people do that, but they don't really succeed in life usually, unless they got someone else to catch them. But for the most part, imagine if you only went to work when you felt like it. Imagine if you only, when you were, if you're pursuing your studies, maybe you are, or when you were, if you only went to school when you felt like it. That's suicide, right? That's how you know you're going to sink your career. It doesn't make sense. Because a motivated student recognizes that even at times I might not be fully motivated, but I'll still do what I have to do to get by. And then that way when I regain some motivation or where I'm in my most motivated spirit, I would have maintained enough to where it's still attainable.